Hello, all, and welcome to Refresh. This is the time to connect, be inspired, learn something new, and ultimately feel just a bit better about ourselves and this time we spend together. This show is, you're not going to believe this, Lauren, 101. This is our 101th episode. And I think, honestly, we're all still basking in the celebration of 100 that our amazing producer, Sherry Levin, lovingly, truly scripted for us just a little while ago. And I want to thank for everyone for all the warm responses. We're never sure. Everybody can find the show at different times and different places, but everything that has come back to us has been really celebratory. And we want to say thank you. I think it was a good reminder to all of us to take a moment, excuse me, to celebrate accomplishments, give hugs, and virtual hugs do work, and take a breath and honor the work that has been done. You know, honestly, as athletes, we probably don't do that enough. In any one of our professions, we don't do that enough. I also particularly love that 100 refreshes was over an extended period of time. And it was a time capsule reminding us of the time and places that we lived through and the urgency that the issues we shared had for all of us. It took us through COVID. It took us through social justice and civil rights issues. It took us through health. It just took us through so many different places. And it's a powerful reminder that we were able to move through all of them and build resilience and foresight. And we did it as a community, connected together. I mean, and that's just the absolute power of connection. It's why we love Refresh. It's why we are so committed to Generation W and Generation Wow, that movement that brings us all together. And it's really the true antidote for the times that we live in. So, connection, right? It's a perfect lead into sports. I know, Lauren, we have a lot of team sport athletes with us today. Everybody knows that I played a lot of team sports. Just happen to love basketball. Sorry, Lauren, I don't dislove or unlove any of the others. I love them all. But we just celebrated on February 5th, the National Girls and Women's Sports Day. And it's a celebration that inspires girls and women to play and be active, to realize their full potential, their full ability, their full presence. I love that. And it's what sports does for us all. Access has always been key for sports. And that's why I'm doing a happy dance these days as the participation of girls and women continues to grow, thanks to public and private investment and resources, as well as really the shift in the cultural zeitgeist. It is very cool to be involved in women's sports these days. It's entertaining. It's profitable. Yes, not for all quite yet, but the amount of resources and flow and the asset class and everything that's around women's sports is on the rise. The economics are an added boon. And I have to say that really at the end of the day, the best thing we can all do, every single person on this planet, is to move and be active if we want to live long lives that are filled with health and possibility and promise. It's what my trainer said to me this morning. Donna, you have to move. And he's right. Speaking of on the move is our guest today, Lauren Kelly, a former Division I hockey player, and I am all into hockey. We all went to the Iceman game the other night, turned pro football player. By the way, you don't have the same kind of fights in hockey that you do in football, correct? I was surprised at how everybody's screaming at the game for those. Two of the most hard-hitting male-dominated sports out there. You're making waves in sports media as well. I think the gist was really at the forefront of a plethora, a lot of women's sports media organizations. And I think that your partners, right? Ellen and Jace,
Yeah.
you have some of your other people here with us, really
Yeah.
led the way before others came along, helping to change the game for women everywhere. And again, adding to the ability for us to follow great women's stories and great women athletes. We're so lucky to have had you at Generation Wow. And I just love how all of our Teen Wow girls rallied around you and how beautifully you shared their story with them and inspired them. So Lauren, so glad you're here. So glad you're all here. Hi, I'm looking to my right here. So glad you're all here. Hi, Allie Tucker. She's been involved in women's sports for a really long time. So let's dig in, Lauren. I always love to start with the journey. All right. So tell us, how did it all happen for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And no, first off, Donna, I have been in such admiration of everything that you've built throughout your career, everything you have going on with Generation W, Generation Wow, really just in awe of all of the above. So thrilled to even just be here to have this platform and to share a little bit about my story. Donna, as I chat through my story, I'll try to keep it brief, but if I get to, sometimes once I start talking, I can't stop. So if I just keep a little too much, feel free to jump in. But
Okay, I will. I will. We'll all. Well, I just want to remind everybody here, you are all part of the conversation. That's one of the
yes,
gifts that we have, that you get a chance to like meet all these people and engage. So we'll be monitoring the chat. I'll be doing that for you. So don't worry, Lauren. So go ahead, tell away.
absolutely. But yeah, so the journey, from hockey to football to working in sports media now, grew up, my parents had me on skates at the age of 2, playing organized hockey at the age of 4, and played with boys my entire life. And I know that that's not even unique for the women from my generation. We all, through our childhood had to play with boys because there generally weren't girls teams, girls organized hockey teams in the area. And if there was, it was, an hour or 2 hours of a drive to even get to. So we all, grew up playing on boys teams, and with that comes, that strength, and comes that empowerment, and comes that reality of, having coaches, having parents, having everyone tell you, hey, if you want to make the boys team, you can't just be as good as the boys. You have to be better. And you have to
Whoa.
shine through, you have to show, if they're going to take you, it has to be, point blank period. We have to take her. Because if you're just as good, if you're equally as good as a boy in your position, they're going to go with the boy. And so that was something, that was just internalized, ready to go, ingrained in me since day one. And I know that it's the same story for so many female athletes that played these male dominated sports. And so that journey all the way through hockey, high school, started getting recruited, ended up.
Lauren, why hockey of all the sports?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually was born and raised just outside of Toronto. So Canada.
Ah, you're a Canadian. So it's like the
Yeah.
official religion of the.
Yes, it is
Okay.
the actual, basically the religion of the country. I grew up, there were hockey players on the $5 bill. It was you live and breathe, very much like football here in the US. And so grew up very heavily surrounded by hockey, lived and breathed it, thought it was the most important sport in the world. And played with guys all the way through high school. And then in high school, I played for my high school boys hockey team. I also played for organized girls teams. I ended up making the Canadian under 18 national team, ended up getting recruited, and then played Division 1 at Dartmouth. The best we ever did while I was there, we made it to the NCAA tournament, and had, a strong little run there, and had a ton of fun, a lot of growth, a lot of great experiences that, we can touch on as we talk about that lifetime being an athlete and being around sports. And yeah, shout out to my former teammate Ailish, doing big things with Sportsnet. But back to the journey. So post Dartmouth, I started
I'm
working.
gonna just raise my hand. So
Yeah.
you're playing boys ice hockey
Yeah.
in high school.
Yes.
Arguably, they're bigger, stronger, faster. Not to say you weren't fast or strong.
Yes. Yes.
How did that work out? And did you ever feel that you were a target during those years?
Yeah. So yes, to all the above. Thankfully, we're on Zoom, so you can't see. I have a little bit of height to me. I'm not the tallest in the world, but I'm a strong 5'9". But again, you reach high school, and you look back to the younger ages, and I was taller than the boys, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then all of a sudden
Perfect.
puberty hits 12, 13, 14, 15, and the boys all kind of shoot up and, start getting those muscles. And that's when you have to, I mean, it's a lot of things. It's starting to play the mental game and understanding how strong you have to be to show up. And same for all the other female hockey players, and I'm sure with a lot of sports too. You can't get dressed for the boys, so you're missing out on the locker room atmosphere. You're missing out on that teamwork aspect of it. You're showing up to the game hour early. You're going to the broom closet to go get changed because they don't have locker rooms for girls, and so you're getting changed in the broom closet. All the rest of your team is having that camaraderie, and you're walking into the locker room. Thankfully, I know the team I played for in high school, those were the same guys I had played with since I was 4 years old. So they all had that level of respect for me, and they all treated me incredibly well, and treated me with that respect, and treated me very much as a hockey player and not as some girl on the team. So I thankfully was fortunate to have that respect, from my team and from my coaches. And but then I would face that every time we played against another team, because no boy in high school would ever want to get, deked out by a girl or hit by a girl or anything along those lines. And, I always had this long ponytail
And
coming
by the
back.
way, can we qualify it? It doesn't matter what level of play they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. There wasn't a playground I went to, even now, where there's not some guy who does not want to get right shown up, right?
Yep, yep. And this one of the ones that's most ingrained in my memory. Well, I have a few, but I remember in high school once, I so I played defense and I like made
Oh my
some
God.
fancy move.
Defense even.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I made some sort of fancy move on some guy. All the guys on my team went crazy. They're, banging the boards, making a bunch of noise. I get off my shift, and next shift, the exact player I had made a move on headhunts me. And he hit me so hard that my helmet cage like dented into my face, and I had like bruises on my face from how hard he had hit me, and like he got kicked out and yada yada yada. But it was just that reminder of like, you don't belong, you're a girl, I could never let a girl beat me, why is a girl competing with us? And that all sort of leads to some of the things we're going to discuss a little later about like female representation, opportunity, accessibility in sports, and how far sports have come. But yeah, just some crazy stories from back in the day playing with the guys. And I know that especially a lot of the women who are on the call now played hockey, a lot of them played football in their childhood. And even with basketball, it's that same story of you had to play with guys, and you had to be tough, you had to have that thick skin.
No, there's no doubt about it. It's funny. Sherry just sent me a note. She goes, it sounds like our story, but you're younger than us. So we were hoping by the time it got to you that things would have changed. But so that makes me ask the question in Canada, and you're not living in Canada any longer, I know, but are there opportunities? Is there high quality competition, elite comp for young women coming up through the game?
Yes, absolutely. And it's so incredible to see. And, it's rewarding for me to see. I'm sure it's even more rewarding for the women who, pioneered the sport before my generation even came around. In Canada, even up in the Northeast, there are tons of like very strong girls programs who can compete at that highest level. A lot of the current top players played girls hockey their entire lives. And for my generation and the generation before, like you had to have, 99% of us had to play with the boys in order to even like reach that level of high competition and have that accessibility to the ice time, to the training, to the coaches. But it's so cool to see like these girls who are playing, these women who are playing hockey now, a lot of them came up playing in girls organizations, being coached by women, being trained by women. And that is so rewarding to see. And it's rewarding to even know like, hey, it's going to only going to improve for every generation moving forwards.
That's great. Listen, I live in Florida, Lauren, as you know, and they have a lot of young girl hockey teams. We're going to have to go together and go see them. They warm my heart, and they're little bitties. They are little bitties. And when you put on all that gear, they're
Yeah.
like little like the weebles that wobble, but they
Yeah.
won't fall down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I used to be actually pretty involved with the girls program here. And then football started eating up all my weekends. And so I couldn't be coaching anymore on those weekends. But they have what they're doing over at the Igloo is incredible. They're, really paving that way, getting growing the game and getting girls in the game down here in Florida. It's so cool to see. And it's great to even see that talent pool for the sport expand and for opportunities for girls who want to play
Right.
too.
I know it's great. So I know that, and I know that you have some of your Dartmouth teammates here. But what? Tell me about the transition. What happened? You go to Dartmouth, you play at the highest level, and then it's over, right? At that point in time, there's no professional women's team. We're going to talk about actually all of the new women's leagues coming into the marketplace, and there's many, and we're one of them. But how women's football? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always had this fascination with football, and obviously playing hockey, you put on the helmet, you put on the pads, you get all rough, you're allowed to fight, which you can't even do in football. But if I played all kinds of sports growing up, played competitive soccer, ran track, softball, whole bunch of box lacrosse, whole bunch of other sports, and I always just like thrived with these like fast paced, rough and tough
Yes.
sports. Those just were I was always fascinated by. But football, it's crazy when I look at football now because it's almost like it's 5, 10, 15 years behind hockey, where football, it was like flat out, like not an opportunity for girls to play, like not
Right.
even
That's
just
right.
nothing, never had the opportunity. And, look at pictures when I was a kid, I'd have a ball in my hand, like I just wanted to play, but I was obviously busy playing hockey and all these other sports. And in adulthood, I kind of just like heard mumblings here and there about women's football. And I kind of was like, hey, I think I see stuff once in a while of women playing football. Like, what is this? How do I get into it? Is it even plausible for me to get into it? And this was, several years ago when I first looked into it, there was that lingerie league. And for myself personally, I
I
was,
remember that. I remember
yes,
that.
yes.
Yes.
And I remember seeing like these women are incredible athletes. The stuff they're doing, a lot of them are former college athletes of different sports. But then for myself, it was like, hey, as a female athlete, I want to be watched. I want to be valued for how I perform on the field, not for my body being objectified, not for how I look. And that was where that line was sort of drawn for me, where it was like, hey, like if I am to even pursue trying out playing football in any way, shape, or form, it's not going to be in a way that objectifies my body at the end of the day. Because I, again, as female athletes, we fight so hard to be valued
No, no, no. I know. It's like
our athleticism.
even thinking back on it, it's so cringeworthy, and you don't want to diminish or everyone has the right to do it, but the fact that the way that women can play is to play in a lingerie league, like you can play, but you have to come like half dressed or whatever. It is so not where we want to be, and it's certainly not where we will go, right?
Yes. And so much power to the women who did that because they still, they were pioneers. They still paved the way. They had to do what had to be done. But for myself personally, it was like, I can't do this. And when I saw the WNFC arise to the surface, so the WNFC is about 5 years old at this point. So it's still a relatively new league, but it's been making some great, incredible, strong moves. When I first heard about the WNFC, full pads, women's professional tackle, 16, 17 teams across the country, travel to play each other. The best of the best women owning their craft, but obviously still working full time, still taking care of their families, still in school, still doing a million other things, but really
Of
committing
course.
to it and having a league that is doing its best to really create a platform for women to play, but even more importantly, to build something for the next generation that is going to be sustainable. And so even more, I guess, irony with my football story is that so when the league first came out on the scene, I really wanted to go try out. And, I had played Powerpuff flag football for my sorority in college and, all that. And I really wanted to try out. And, getting a little bit personal, I was in a very toxic relationship at the time. And he was a former Division I football player. So you would think would appreciate football. And he immediately said, I don't think you should play. Maybe if you were wearing lingerie, this doesn't make sense, yada, yada, yada. All to say, scrapped him to the curb. And here I am now. 2 years ago, I had the idea of, hey, I really do still want to try out for this. And I really believe in this. And I really want to do this. And I think that I have a little bit of gas left in the tank. And if I can contribute to building something for the next generation, then maybe my place is still on the field for another few years. And if I can contribute to helping grow a game and or just helping build something that will be sustainable for the next generation, even if it's not during my lifetime, then maybe that's something I can do and have some fun while doing it. So did my research, looked up the WNFC, saw that, we have a team right here in Jacksonville, and just went to the tryouts, did not know what to expect. My fiance was super supportive. He, off the bat, he immediately was like, yes, you need to do this. You're going to be great. I will support you, whatever you got to do. I showed up and the women on the team were so incredibly welcoming and accommodating. And there's always that little bit of fear because especially as women, there's not much space for us. Even when you talk about media coverage, 85% of media coverage is male sports. And then, that leaves 15% for us. And in
By
these,
the way, 15% is a much larger number than it's been. Not nearly enough, right? I think the data on ESPN up until a couple years ago was 1%. And think about that, right? You go to see sports, 1%.
that is not even surprising at all.
It's changed. I have to say it's changed,
Yeah.
but 15% was crazy. I'm not settling. Don't worry. I know you're not either, and you're actively changing that,
Yeah.
but right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, so all to say, showed up, tried out, and our coaches, our teammates, they were so incredibly accommodating where everyone has that shared mindset as female athletes and or as allies within the female sports space of, hey, like how can we bring more women to the game? How can, when women are new to the game, how can we bring them in? How can we teach them? How can we coach them? How can we work with them? How can we, make sure they stick around? And I saw Chelsea, she's one of my teammates, that messaged in the chat about making the leap to football. She was very integral along with several, I see teacher on here, Skittles, I see a bunch of you on here, Skittles, both Skittles. And having those women who are saying, hey, welcome to the team, we're going to empower you, we're going to uplift you, and we see that you bring something to the team as well. And understanding that, like, as women, we're not in competition with each other. We're all trying to change the game. We're all trying to transform and truly level that playing field. And that, that journey through over to the football side has been so incredibly, I guess, satisfying and fulfilling in so many ways to see, like, hey, like, we're coming together, we're doing this, we're making change, and we're paving the way. And, it's truly embodying that women empower women mindset within the sports space as well.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. So the switch from hockey to football, did you notice what is there a difference in the team dynamic?
Yeah, so it's definitely a much larger team, in the sense, hockey, we only had like floating around 22, 25 players on a roster. And then football, we have about 50 women on the team. And then it's pretty cool. We come from all different walks of life. Some people, they've played football since childhood. Some people never set foot on a football field, but they were softball players, or they were gymnasts, or they were, tons of other sports, and we've all come together in this space. So it's pretty interesting in the sense that, hockey, like, we all very strongly came from that hockey background of childhood, hockey this, hockey that. But then football, we're all, grown adults who are all different ages, coming from different walks of life. We have women who are young mothers. We have women who are, coaches. We have women who are, coming from all different industries, healthcare, medicine, whatever that may be, sports media, personal trainers, construction, whatever that may be. And it's pretty cool to see women from all different backgrounds, all different races, all different, ethnicities, all different, I guess, sports backgrounds as well, coming together with this united mission. So I would say it's different in that sense, where we have such a more diverse background, which is so cool because it brings in so many different personalities, so many different perspectives, and it makes for a great team dynamic. The more brains, the better.
Without a doubt. And I have to just say, I'm looking at the chat here, and what's so great, and everyone's always supportive in our conversations. I mean, that's what one of the beautiful things about our community is everybody comes open heart, open mind. But like I see all your teammates like, way to go. Now, do they call you Loke or is it low key?
Oh, so okay. So yeah, so since my name's Lauren Kelly, so my coach, I think she was in here, my college coach, she started calling me Lo, short for Lauren, and then Kel for Kelly. So she would call me Lo Kel. And then a lot of my college hockey teammates called me Lo Kel. And then a lot of people just shortened it to Lo for Lauren. So Lo became my nickname. And then my football team calls me Suitcase because I like to bring a little suitcase everywhere I go with my football.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a running joke there, but it's, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. But here's someone who's probably your new teammate, and that's Trisha Maley, and she wanted to know how you felt if you saw. I guess it's the Nike ad. Nike ad created a lot of chatter in a good way, right? The whole piece on you can't.
Yes.
I'd love if anyone else has seen it. Like, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, no, and absolutely love to hear anyone else's input, but it gave me goosebumps. And even just thinking about it now gives me goosebumps. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this was the first time that Nike invested in a Super Bowl ad in over 20 years, I think. And to see that they're, because they haven't needed to, they're coming back to the scene and they're choosing and making that conscious choice to amplify these female athletes and to have that emotional messaging that Nike, ever so cleverly has had for the duration of their campaigns. It was so great to see that, when they make that choice to come back on the scene, they're choosing to spotlight, they're choosing to amplify these female athletes who are, truly continuing to pave the way and change the game in so many ways. And these are women who are incredible role models for, the next generation, and for us older gals as well. It's, they're great role models for us too, and seeing everything that they're doing and the power that and the strength that they show in everything that they do. It's so exhilarating and it's so empowering.
No, no, it's like on that platform, right? It was like if you recall, I think it was the year before where Billie Jean King, she was the one who threw up the coin. So the NFL made their nod to supporting women, and now, of course, they're launching their flag football league and they're making a big play for girls. How do you feel about that?
It's so exciting. It's really cool to you know, see the NFL using their power, using their strength, using their reach to, use their resources to
Right.
create opportunities for girls to play and to not only create opportunities, but to also amplify and empower, where that's a lot of the struggle that women's sports have dealt with is, that opportunity and that accessibility, but then also that media exposure, where if you don't talk about it, then how do you even spread the word? And how do, those brand dollars start to come in if we're not spreading the word and if we're not gaining that media exposure? So for a major league with all that reach, all that money, all that power like the NFL to be spotlighting and shining on, girls flag football, women in sports. It's pretty, it's exciting to see, but we still obviously have a very, very long way to go.
We do, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about just Sherry says that she has the Nike ad. What do you think? What do you think? I think we should watch it again,
Yeah,
right? She has
let's
it, and I
go
it would
for
be
it.
really fun. Sherry. Oh, Sherry, you're the best. Here we go.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident. So be confident. You can't challenge. So challenge. You can't dominate. So dominate. You can't flex. So flex. You can't fill a stadium. So fill that stadium. You can't be emotional. So be emotional. You can't take credit. You can't speak up. You can't be so ambitious. You can't break records. You can't have any fun. You can't make demands. You can't keep score. You can't stand out. Whatever you do, you can't win. So win.
Ah, we win, we win, we win. I love that they chose Shikari because, as we all know, she had that heartbreak of that drug test. She turned around, trained hard, and came back, which was incredible. We all know all of the chat around Caitlin Clark right now, and of course Sabrina, and let's see who else was in that. Asia was in that ad. The gymnast, I love her as well. I don't want to leave anybody out now, but it was just great, right? It makes you feel good, and it's great. There's somebody out there saying go win, and there's a lot of people that out there helping us do that in ways that we always knew they could, should, and would, but finally are stepping into the arena. Now you are working with one of the foremost, I would say, and earliest entries into the media space of women-owned sports businesses, and that would be the gist. Give us the gist on the gist, okay? Well,
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm on the account management side of teams with the Gist, but fast forwarding to, the story of the Gist. So the Gist is a female founded sports media group. And we level the playing field by providing equal coverage of both men's and women's sports, where there's sort of that little bit of a niche space where, as women, of course, we have that thirst, we have that desire, we have that demand to know what is going on in women's sports in a way that is not covered by your standard media channels. But then at the same time, we do still want to know what's happening in, the NFL, NBA, NHL, all the men's sports as well. So what the Gist has really done since their, very, very early beginning is making sure to provide that equal coverage of both men's and women's sports, and also from a female perspective and voice. And so what I do is I work on our account management side with fulfilling, basically the contractual needs of any campaigns that brands have that advertise with us. And it's pretty rewarding and cool to see the amount of major brands that want to invest in being adjacent to women's sports and to be involved in, activating their campaigns around women's sports has been, very truly rewarding. And ever since I've joined the company, before this, I worked pretty heavily in the male sports professional space. So switching over and coming to the Gist and seeing the way we operate, seeing the power of everything that we do, and seeing, the reach that we have, and even the feedback that comes in from our audience has been very empowering, very rewarding, and very, exciting to, and encouraging with everything that we're continuing to build as well.
Absolutely. Let me just welcome everybody. We always, at the midpoint of the show, say you are with us at Refresh. Today, we're celebrating Girls and Women in Sports Day with Lauren Kelly, fantastic athlete, played collegiate ice hockey, and now playing in, I have to get the Women's National Football Conference. She's playing professional football. She is kick and all that. Talking about the Gist, tell me what you've learned along the way? You said you worked on the men's side of professional sports. You're working in a women-focused but inclusive sports environment. What do you learn about the business and how the world reacts to the gist?
Yeah, I think the coolest part is that there's more. They want more, and they want more coverage of women's sports. And I think something interesting that, if you're in the industry, you hear these statistics at all times, but women control the spending power at the end of the day in the majority of households. And when you look at sports as that business model that it is, um, the money's coming in from brands, and the brands want to get access to a captivated audience. And when you actually think about the fact that women control the majority of spending power in their households, then brands should be looking for ways to reach those women. And how can you reach those women? Well, maybe providing a little more media coverage of women's sports, because that demand is there. And, people are always talking about, is it the chicken or the egg? And, you look at the WNBA and the numbers of viewership that the league has put up this year. And
Doubled,
yes,
doubled.
and
Nice.
people talk about it as if, oh yeah, like, oh, this year everyone just flipped their TVs on and watched the WNBA, without acknowledging or thinking about the years of work that were put into building the foundation to get it to where it is today. And a lot of that is, obviously based on that foundation, and then based on that media exposure and availability and accessibility to even watch the sport as well. Where, for years past, it was, oh, I want to watch the NCAA Division I Women's Hockey National Championship. How do I even watch that? It's not being aired anywhere. I have to go on some obscure website to even find it. And so much of it is just gaining that media exposure and having that understanding that, there is a demand for it. And it's not, gone are the days, or at least you would hope gone are the days, of people saying women don't care about sports, women don't this, women don't that. That's just not the truth. That's not the reality at all. And the second you see that media exposure is there, the crowds are there as well. And that's what has been, so exciting to see, even here during my time at the Gist, and seeing, the incredible work that our content team does with, staying up late all night, writing our newsletters and sharing things on our social media and speaking on the podcast and being boots on the ground at all these different sporting events. It's so cool to see that, that demand is there. And it's just, there has been a lack of, a supply for it, and of that media exposure as well.
That's great. And I have to say, like, I know there's all these great athletes joining us today, and all of us athletes at heart still. But as I was preparing for our conversation, Lauren, I was talking to Sherry about just some of the data, and as you know, we'll talk a little bit about all of the new sports that are coming in the new leagues. So I've been working on that a lot. And I said, sure, I really need to call Nancy Hogshead. I got to ask her some questions. And lo and behold, here is Nancy, Olympic swimmer, but really one of the hugely important, committed advocates for women in sports on the legal front as well as the competition front. And so, Nancy, it's really great that you joined us today, because you have built a lot of this foundation and you continue to help us expand and grow. And you're such a great friend and a relied on expert. So we're saying hello to you too, Nancy. If you want to jump in and ask a question or something, that would be great. I do want to talk about right now, how did you feel when the Professional Women's Hockey League started? Did it tug at you and say, I think I should go back to that sport?
That would be a hoop dream of mine, I guess. I am way too far out of the hockey game to even be close to what these women are doing these days. I think I was halfway decent in my prime. But to see, which is so exciting to see how far the game has come, even since my playing days. It's so incredible to see, they're faster, they're stronger, they're, all of the above. And it's very incredible to see. And when the league first launched, and seeing, Billie Jean King and everyone that's getting involved and empowering the sport and pushing the sport forward, it really, as someone who, as a child, my dream was, I want to play in the NHL. I want to play women's pro hockey. I want to see that become a reality for so many women during my lifetime. Was so, just like, it's giving me goosebumps as I speak about it. It's so cool. And
if I could make an observation here, it's interesting. And feel free, if anybody here this relates to this, let me know, because it really resonated with me. You grew up with me. You grew up in Canada, and everyone played hockey. The boys all played hockey. They were idolized. They were elevated. They had all kinds of these perks in life. And you look at it. I remember sitting as a kid. I'm like, I want to play sports. Look what's happening in my school. The boys are they're at another platform, right? They have all these opportunities and access that we don't have. And now, NFL, you can argue that, is the biggest platform. There's a lot of many large ones like the NBA now, whatever. And you chose to do that because that was an influence as well. And I think it speaks to the power. That's what you said. What do we see? What is around us? What is being told to us without screaming? Now, the NFL doesn't have to scream, but it has grown so large. It is so influential, right? That it really says, hey, you know what I mean? Come join us. And now they're creating ways for women to do that. Obviously, your league is not attached to it yet, but this whole flag football movement is really interesting to me.
No, I absolutely agreed. It's so cool, to just see that allyship at any level and to see that amplification of women in sports at any level. And, what I do think is really cool about the WNFC is, it's a female founded league. It is a, female operated league. And to see that, there are women at the forefront of pushing women's football forward is also pretty cool in the sense that, there's places and spaces to be working together, and there's places and spaces for women to really be, like leading that charge and having that influence and that impact. But it is so strong and so powerful. And even to, touch on everything you were saying as well, where, again, I think it's completely changing for the next generation, but it was that same battle as a child. And I'm sure it was the same in basketball where, as a young girl playing a sport, that didn't put you on a platform. That didn't really put you anywhere, but it put the boys somewhere, and it put the boy, it elevated the boys, but you were that girl playing it and you weren't really getting all those perks that the boys were getting.
No, that's true. I'll never forget. I was a commissioner of the WNBA at the time, and the New York Giants had just won the Super Bowl, and they were having a ticker tape parade. I was in New York City downtown. I'm like, oh my God, my dream is like, where's our ticker tape parade? And subsequently, yes, the women's national soccer team had it. And then, of course, most recently, the New York Liberty had it. And it literally brought tears to my eyes in terms of that kind of recognition at long last. It is there for all of us. If we look at what's happening that's new, we'll do the headline Women's National Football Conference, the WNFC. We have the Women's Professional Hockey League. There's yet another fantastic new professional volleyball league coming called the Major League Volleyball. Unrivaled just launched. And of course, we here just launched the Upshot League, which is an opportunity league, another new women's professional basketball league. And the data is incredible. I think 75% of all sports fans, not just women, are interested in new leagues and new teams. And so there is this thirst for sports inclusive of women's sports. So everything that's going on is really building the ecosphere, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so my fiance and I actually were up in Minnesota during the WNBA playoffs and we went to a Lynx game up there, and just the atmosphere was so incredible. Seeing, the demand that comes in once that platform is there for women, and being at, that playoff game it literally, I know I've said this multiple times, but it's just the reality. It gave me goosebumps, and it almost brought me to tears to see the people who showed up and showed out and were cheering them on from all walks of life, such diverse backgrounds in ways that you just won't see even at a lot of men's games. And it was so incredible.
Oh, the community is fantastic. It's beautiful. It's rich, right? Of all ages, it's families.
Yeah.
I know, and it speaks to the real values of what's important to America in a time when the values of America are being questioned. There are really harbingers of what is good and right and strong and powerful, and we're all a part of it, and your teammates are all a part of it, and we should continue to stand tall as women. Even at the risk of, in some places, taking down women's leadership, right? No. Let's continue to build for sure. Let me ask you this question, and I'm asking everybody who's with us today as well, so please participate. If you could change one thing about the sports industry today to make it better, even better for women, what would it be? Everybody here is a goddess for the day. We're not even making you commissioners. We're making you a goddess of the day, all powerful, which by the way, you are all every day anyway. But what would it be? Just curious. What's your ask if you had one? Nancy, jump in here on chat. That would be great. Carrie, Brianna, Bonnie, come on. Here we go. But No, you go, you lead the way, Lauren.
Oh, okay, cool. I was waiting. But no, so I would say, I think my immediate ask would just be that equal coverage at all levels. So when you flip on ESPN, when you flip on all these different, even just like cable TV, accessibility on like Netflix, whatever those television channels would be for, oh, sorry, reading the chat, would be for that equal coverage. And with that comes a lot of that equal investment, a lot of that equal brand coverage, a lot of that, financial aspect that comes to paying women so that they can all really truly own their craft. Um, but I love reading what everybody else is saying.
Yeah, everybody loves, yeah, okay, investment, of course, we want more investment, but investment's coming, it's coming. And then someone said, pay us, and I hear that a lot. Having been in the business, it's not like the money just appears, right? So we need more people to watch. Everybody here, if you're an athlete, I ask you, how many of you are buying tickets for anything? How many of you are watching? How many of you supporting the media outlets? All of those things are indices of strength and value, and we have to take it upon ourselves to participate as well, right?
Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah. I was gonna
right?
say, this reminded me actually of an interaction with one of my coaches when I was playing in the CWHL, and we would get comp tickets to our game. I think it was only like two free tickets per game to give to friends and family. And we
Right.
were sitting around the table at, like, game day breakfast, and a couple of the women were asking our coach, like, hey, can we get more than those two tickets? I have, more family members coming, more friends coming. Can I get more than those two free tickets? And our coach turned to us and it was like, if you don't think that you are worth being paid for to watch by your family members, why would you think that you are worthy of being paid for to watch by people who are
Wow. Wow.
and
Well, you know what? Yeah,
completely change
they
so
put it
many
right.
mindsets where it's like, no, like we deserve to be, ticketed athletes. We deserve to have ticketing to enter our games. We deserve this, whether they're family or not. And it's great we get those two comp tickets, but how can you expect the rest of the general public to want to come watch you if your own family won't come watch you? If they have to pay, $15, $20, $30, whatever that may be for the ticket to attend. And, our coach at the time was, she was a pioneer in the women's hockey space. And that totally shifted a lot of our mindsets of like, hold on. Yes, that is how we need to be talking about ourselves. That is how we need to be portraying ourselves. It's very easy as female athletes to be, to belittle your accomplishments or to think, oh, I play
Ah, right.
professional hockey, and to, put those quotation marks and say, well, are we that No, you're a professional athlete. And this is how, what you deserve. This is what you've earned. This is what you've worked hard to achieve. And, you know, it's time to start carrying ourselves like that and building something that, we can truly have as a sustainable league to pass on for the next generations.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I have to say, if there's a little swagger I may have in my life still, it's because I can say I was a professional athlete. Hey, Kelsey, $15 tickets. You guys got to let us know your schedule so we can help you promote your team and your league. And Nancy points out women's teams in college need 314%. This is why I always check with Nance. Um, where it goes. More in college recruiting dollars, investment, obviously. So we need to do that as well. Lauren, before we leave, and I want to invite all of everybody here to something special. One single athlete that's inspired you?
Ooh, oh, this is hard. There's so many. I mean, my childhood, Haley Wickenheiser, female hockey player, my entire childhood, she was my favorite. As an adult, I very closely have followed Naomi Osaka on a personal level in many ways. I think she's, been an incredible athlete. I think she's been so humble. And then there's that piece, I'm biracial, and, she's biracial, she's mixed Asian as well. And that has been really important to me to see that additional level of representation as a female athlete, but then also as a diverse female athlete in sports as well. Those are probably, two athletes who have had that very impactful piece in my life.
Yeah, and isn't it great to be able to see that representation is important, right? And just like, you being out there, all of you being out there. Thank you, Annalise, for posting the schedule. We'll try to get that up on our newsletter when we go out next. Elise, right? Besides seeing powerful athletes, I think more women represented in roles as coaches, trainers, sports science teams, data analytics, all, and totally agree. And that's one of the reasons we're doing the Upshot League, because it's going to let everybody up their shot. Everybody who comes, going to provide education and opportunity. And that's what we believe to make it better, is to really help train the current generation and the next generation. Let me just say this, Generation W, every year we have our National Thought Leadership event. It's coming up again. Hard to believe that this planet turns that quickly. It's on March 28th. Lauren, I mentioned you'd love to have your entire team join us for that. Happens to be our theme is explore, and I have been in the rabbit hole of exploring. I am loving it. We owe ourselves the time to explore things that are important to us, or explore things we don't even know that are important to us. But one of the things this year is we have this incredible researcher, data scientist who's done a lot of work on who we are as Americans. And she, in her time of exploring, really start to focus on women in sports. And so we're bringing her to share with everyone who will be there on March 28th at UNF. She's just an incredible list of speakers and panelists and conversations. So please join us. And then before then, on February 28th, we're going to have the lead space launch system avionics engineer at NASA's Space Center. We're really into space these days. And what is space about? But also exploring, right? Where's our curiosity? Why do we spend so much time fascinated about space? So hopefully you will join us for that. Alicia Winsley is this incredible engineer, and she'll be with us on February 26th. Lauren, thank you so much. I know that we could probably spend a lot more time talking, and we will, because we'll be seeing each other. Until then, good luck with the Florida Avengers. Appreciate that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you on the 26th of February, and let's all talk about being together for Generation W on March 28th. Sherry, great job. Thank you, Generation W team. Bye, all.
Thanks, everybody.